Yeah, I got it.
Yay! Good day, Meticulous Moments audience. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another enlivening session here, the Meticulous Moments podcast, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And today we have the amazing John G. Paul with us And I'm just going to give you a few pointers on everything that he's busy with. He's a DJ, he's a music producer, he's an actor, he's a martial arts hall of famer, a fight choreographer, a script writer, and a stuntman. But I think John G should introduce himself to the audience. How are you, John?
I'm okay, Juanita. Yeah, a bit nervous about this. I've never done anything like this before, so it's a bit strange but fun at the same time. So yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm. I don't know. What do you want me to start with?
Wonderful. Yeah, as martial artists, we know there's good nerves and there's bad nerves, and
Yeah,
we only have good
yeah.
nerves. Yeah, the nerves never go away. By the way, I've done this like so many
Okay,
times.
thanks.
Before every session, I'm like, I'm ready for this. So tell us more about yourself. You have such a wonderful profile, everything that you're busy with. Tell us a little bit more about you.
I started martial arts in 1986. The date was December the 6th, and it was a Thursday. I remember everything. I started because I was never a big guy. I'm only 5'5", so I'm still quite short, and the only thing that's grown is the width. So, but I was being picked on quite a lot as a young boy, bullied, just generally treated badly in school and life and everything. So I decided to take up karate. And literally within a week of starting karate, everybody just left me alone. They was like, "Oh, he does karate, leave him alone." I was like, "Why didn't I do this years ago?"
Yeah.
So it's such a bizarre thing. But I got hooked on not just the ability to defend myself, because that's part and parcel of what you do anyway. It's self-defense.
Yeah.
But I got hooked on the technique, on how I could read movements, and how I was able to adapt my own personal movements into the kicks and the punches, because everybody's different. I mean, if I was to show you a kick, you would do it your way, but it would still be the same kick, but it would be different because it's yours. Well, that's how I look at it for all martial artists. We all do the same kicks and punches and sorts of techniques in a similar fashion, but it's our version that suits us, as an individual. So, but yeah, I got fully hooked immediately. I fell in love with it from the very first session, and I couldn't wait to go back and do another session. And I was just chomping at the bit to get back in there and learn. So, and within 5 years, I reached my first Dan. So that's how dedicated I was. I mean, because back then, it was a slower process to learn. There wasn't any fast tracking. You had to take your time. Your first grade was just the very basic techniques, the basic punches, basic kicks and stuff. So that took about 3 months to get to my first grade. And as soon as I got my first belt, I was over the moon. And I thought, yeah, I can do this. I can do it. I had a few setbacks because structurally, personally, I wasn't built for martial arts. I get injured so quick, but that was all down to my genetics, my diet, poor diet, which I've maintained and stay ahead of on purpose, with supplements and stuff, and I've been fine for the last 25, 30 years. So I stay ahead of all of that. But I would suffer with like broken ribs. I broke my left arm 3 times, broke my right arm 6, collarbone, skull, all my floating ribs, both my shins I've done at separate times. This has all been at separate times, but that's how unlucky I've been. I remember the once I was training for a fight and I was kicking the bag so hard. My very first sparring session, I threw such a light kick, and all we heard was, and my shin bone had snapped, and that was it. I couldn't fight.
Oh my goodness!
So I didn't even know.
That must have been extremely painful.
Well, the thing is, though, I didn't even know I'd broken it. I just thought I'd popped a tendon or something, or I'd popped a joint and dislocated. That's how weird it sounded. And I was still able to walk. I was still able to train. But it was like a week later, I just couldn't walk on it. So, but then, I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked on my injuries.
No, that's good.
But,
About those,
no, I went to the hospital. They couldn't see anything initially. Booked in what you know when they do the ultrasound for the to read the muscle density and stuff. Well, I booked in an ultrasound on my leg, and the woman who was the head technician at the time, she read it. She went, "Yeah, you've definitely got a broken bone," and it was the tibia next to the tibia, so no, the fibula. So it was the one on the right hand side, the little one that's only about as thin as a pen, thin as your little finger. I broke that one, but it was already healing. So they just said it's too late to put it in the cast. Just carry on. You're doing fine.
And then it just healed
I stayed ahead of.
Oh.
Yeah, it healed naturally on its own, and it healed in a straight line because I was going to bed and I was crossing my feet for comfort, to get my feet comfortable, because my shin was hurting that much. I would cross my feet.
Yeah.
And then they said, whatever you're doing, it's working, and it's healed in exactly the same place where it should have been.
Wow.
So I was quite lucky there.
Yeah, absolutely. Made some wonderful points. I always tell people that we do the same style, and you said something to that effect as well. We do the same style, we do the same kata, but you really take that kata and you make it your own. So it's not going to look exactly the way someone else is doing that kata, because you made it your own. You put your flair into it, put yourself into it, and it becomes a part of you. And the audience have to know that when you do martial arts, injuries, it comes with the territory. I mean, I've had injuries as well. I haven't broken things before, but I've had the occasional black eye, the bloody nose, the wrist that was swollen, the ankle that was like a tennis ball, broken knuckles, my feet were chafed off from jiu-jitsu. And that's all part of body conditioning. But I find it amazing that bone healed straight on its own. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was lucky. Because your body will tell you. I've noticed, because I've been involved in fitness since 1993. I've rediscovered all my old certificates out again. It says, the examiner's ward. I got this certificate. That was the one from 1993. My very first certificate, whether you can see it.
Yeah,
so that's going back a bit.
Fantastic.
Yeah. A health and fitness teacher's diploma. That's how long ago it was.
That's amazing. But you're a level 3 instructor, aren't you? You went up.
I'm a level 3 PT. So I've gone up. So I've added on to my qualifications. So not only do I teach martial arts, I also monitor people's fitness levels. I inquire about their dieting. I'm not a dietitian, but I inquire to make sure that they're keeping on ahead of what they're doing, because you can't train healthy and then eat unhealthy. It doesn't work. It has to work hand in hand. People occasionally, I do it as well. I'll have a chocolate bar now and again, or I'll have some candy or whatever, or you call it sweets in the UK. But you stay ahead of the positive side of the diet. You tend to eat more veg, more fruit, more leaner products, less processed stuff. You stay away from all the processed sugars, salts, and fats. And that stuff's it's very negative and detrimental on the human body. You shouldn't be touching that, really, if you can help it.
So, these refined sugars. The
processed sugar is just awful. We don't need it, but the body becomes so addicted to it. You just want it more and more. So I'm not telling people not to buy it. Sorry, I don't know. But I'm just saying, be aware. Be aware of what you're putting into your body.
I agree completely. And you don't want to go to that workout session for 2 or 3 hours, work so hard, and then go home and eat what you're not supposed to eat. That just defies the whole purpose. So look after your diet.
Of course,
vision, that goal. And I
Yeah.
always tell people, if you want to have a cheat day, I don't say cheat meals, because when I have a day that I really want to eat something that's, not supposed to be part of my diet, I make it a cheat day. But what I also do on other
Yeah.
times is I just swap my meal for whatever I want to have. If I want to have that sweet, or if I want to
Yeah.
have that chocolate, I have it instead of the meal. Because, you are going to
Yes.
burn those calories at some point with the training. So that's a good way for me to balance that
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I do know a lot of people that will train because of how bad their diet is, because they like the rubbish food and they keep eating bad foods all the time. So the only way they stay in shape is to train. So that, but
Yeah.
again, if they was to modify their diet just that little bit more, to go a little bit more healthy, they would see an even bigger difference.
I agree.
It's just common sense, really, but people neglect it. So
Yeah, and it might not show
yeah.
now, but it's
Anyway, getting sidetracked again.
Yeah, I made some notes
Sorry?
here after we talked. I said it might not show now when they live that lifestyle, but it's going to show
Yes.
when they age. And I spoke to Gary Amen
Yes, on a later
earlier
life,
this
definitely.
week. Yeah, I spoke to him earlier this week, and he was talking about, salmon, how a good salmon is for your body, fish, those fish oils,
Yeah.
the leafy
Yeah.
greens, the green
Yeah.
juices, the mixes that we make, the fresh fruit and salad. And that's really
Yeah.
what our bodies need. I mean, look at our physiology. It's good to introduce a protein as well. If you're not a meat lover, there's so many other products that are good and healthy, the
Of
protein
course, yeah. Yeah.
use. And I wanted to ask you, because I actually made a list here of movies that you were discussing with me, and I absolutely loved the plots of these movies. I remember the one was The Beast from Outer Space, because you're an actor and you're also an action
The
choreographer.
Return of the Beast from Outer Space. Yeah.
So tell us more
Yeah.
about the Return of the Beast from Outer Space, because I can't wait to see that.
It sounds ridiculous, but what it is, it's based on a guy who was in a film called The Beast from Outer Space, and it was a B movie. In this script, it was a B movie that he made, and it was sort of famous. I mean, it never got made. It's just for the fantasy of this other film. So they've made this film. It was a B movie. It sort of got famous, but they refused to make another one. So this guy has lost the plot. He thought they was going to make another one. This is just the actor saying in his own mind, I thought we were going to make the other one, and they didn't. They refused to make it. So he's just gone berserk in his mind. So what he does, he goes around kidnapping people and killing them while dressed in this Beast from Outer Space costume, and he's making snuff movies. They're not real. It's like it's for the film. So he's making snuff movies dressed in this costume, killing people. And I got called in to be the action choreographer for this film. And then when I got to be introduced to the main character himself, I had such a stiff neck because he was nearly 7 foot tall.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm 5'5". Yeah, and I was like constantly going, hello, can you hear me up there? Because he's so tall. But he was such a nice guy. Everybody on set, the director was fantastic. The producers, they were all wonderful people. Everybody was just so polite and understanding. The actors I had so much fun with as well. Like an off-screen talking to the characters about like the action sequences and stuff. And I had to develop ways to make people look like they've been injured, or they look like they've been dragged off set, by this creature, whatever. And I remember the one scene we had to improvise this girl being dragged from under a table. So I got an old, do you know the car seat belts?
Yes, yeah.
The seat belts in the cars. I got the material from one of those from a friend of mine who works at an old garage. And it's quite long. It's about 20 foot long. So what we did was we looped it around her legs while she's under the table, because you can't see it because it's jet black. So it's perfect for the scene, because it's quite a dark scene. And all I did was I waited for the director to count 1, 2, 3, and then I pull her from out the scene. Well, she knew that we was going to be pulling her out on 3, so she was prepared.
Yeah.
So she would have faked the scream and everything. Well, the director wanted to surprise her, and he said, "No, go on 1." So as he was pulling her out, like the director went, so he went like this. He went 1. He's supposed to go on 1, 2, 3, but he went 1, and I just yanked her out, and she wasn't ready for it, and she genuinely screamed, and it worked really well on the scene.
Wow. Was it there?
That went down to really well.
Yeah,
that was quite clever. And the props department as well. Then they was making rocks out of like polystyrene, spraying them up grey and making them look genuine. And people were falling and hitting themselves on the rocks. It looked fantastic. The whole thing did.
Wow.
It's only a short film. I think the whole length of it is about 30 minutes, but or 25 minutes.
Yeah.
It got put through to loads of festivals. Got loads of recognition. If people want to look for this film, it's called The Return of the Beast from Outer Space.
I'm gonna.
And you will understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for it.
I will try and find. I'll try and find the artwork and the links to the actual thing, and I'll send it to you afterwards as well. It's quite clever. It's quite good.
See, now when I watch it and I see you pulling her and I see her being pulled, I'm gonna be like, I know the backstory of that scream.
Yeah. I mean, we spent a week filming in a small village in Shrewsbury, and there's this family that live there, and they've got like 40 acres of land with a farmhouse, loads of forests in the middle of nowhere, and it was fantastic. The whole thing was brilliant. Everybody loved it. It was such a great time, and the weather was perfect as well. We had no rain at all for a week. We loved it.
That's cool. And you also mentioned another one. You mentioned the Night Explorers.
Yes, the Night Explorers.
That sounded amazing.
That's the biggest one I've been in. Initially, I got called in to play a guy who basically dies as soon as you see him. But then, because there was another issue with one of the other characters, he couldn't meet the deadline of the role or whatever. So they basically gave me his part as well. But the first one, I was wearing a gas mask, which I sent you on the pictures. You saw that one.
I saw that.
So they just extended that scene a little bit, and they made me have like a mini fight scene. That was interesting because the director was saying to the guy who meant to hit me, sorry, I keep scratching. I've got like a cut on my hand, and I keep scratching it. And I shouldn't. So anyway, I'll digress. So anyway, the director's come up to the guy and he went, "Here's the crowbar, and you need to hit John in the face with this crowbar. It's a rubber crowbar, so it's foam with a very thin strip of metal on the inside, just so you can bend it into the correct shape."
Yeah.
So anyway, the actor who's hitting me wasn't putting enough oomph or effort into the hit, and the director was saying, "I don't believe the hit. It's not working for me. You need to hit him harder." So he's done it again. The director said, "No, cut. Let's do it. Let me show you what to do." So when the director's come out, he's grabbed the crowbar, whack off my face, and I'm wearing this gas mask from the 1970s or 60s. It's really old. Even the filter's out of date and everything, and it stunk awful. And I stopped and I went, "Hold on, something doesn't feel right." I put my hand inside the gas mask, pulled down, blood. There was a piece of metal on the inside of the gas mask, and when he's hit me, it's cut me. I didn't have a scar or anything. I just had a cut, and the director's like, "Oh no!" And then, he stopped the whole production just to like, it was all, everybody was in panic mode. I was like, "No, just calm down. It's fine. Just put a plaster on it. I'll carry on. I'll be all right." And I was okay about it. There wasn't an issue. Director was like really genuinely sorry and felt guilty about doing it, but I was like, "No, carry on. It's part and parcel of what I'm doing. I am here to be hit. I'm here to be thrown about. I'm gonna get injured. It's what happens." So anyway, that happened. That little fight scene was quite good. It was quite, because I had to like fully explode out of loads of pieces of wood. The two guys have walked into a room.
Yeah.
They don't know what's in the room. They just think it's an empty room with a pile of wood. They don't know I'm some lunatic living under the wood. That's my house.
Oh my gosh.
So as they've walked in, I've just gone, out of this wood, you know, wearing a gas mask, you know, and an old like World War II jacket, looked really scruffy looking,
Does look
and they
scary.
got really scared. Yeah, you know, and basically, you know, they got so shocked. The one guy fell over, and I've come walking out, and I went to grab them, and then the one guy's picked up this crowbar that was on the floor. That's when that scene happened, and he hit me, and he basically has to kill me. And then
Oh,
as I'm dropping to the floor, I land laterally, and then they pour this corn syrup blood through the gas mask, and you see it dripping through the gas mask, but it just filled my eye up, and I couldn't see anything. It was horrible, and it was really cold as well, like freezing cold jelly being poured over my head. I was like, "Oh, it's awful. Can we stop now?" That
gross.
was good. That was good.
Did it burn or not?
No, it was just freezing cold. It was just an unexpected sensation.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and the other character, I had to grow like heavy stubble for the other
Oh,
character, and because
yeah.
I'm bald, they had to put like a hair wig on me, and then they had to hide
Yeah.
it with the hat to make it look a bit more genuine. Then they face painted me with all this horrible dirt stuff, and then they painted all of my teeth brown. You know, that
Oh,
stuff was horrible, and it genuinely hurt my gums. So I might have
oh,
like a reaction to it. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
the character looked really good. They had to use this scar makeup as well, so they had to draw lines with this stuff. And what it does, it shrinks your skin up and it makes it look like a genuine scar. But the second day of doing that, it was burning me. So I had to not use that anymore. And I still had the line where the stuff had been. So they just painted around it and it looks exactly the same. But luckily it's healed fine. So I don't have any other genuine scars. And you saw the pictures from that as well in
Oh,
the introduction to the show.
yeah.
When I sat in the chair when she was drawing it. Joe, who did the makeup, such a lovely woman, you know, very professional, knows exactly what she was doing. When I said it was hurting me, she said, "Okay, we won't use that anymore." You know, she's cleaned up the issues and whatever, and then she just penciled with the makeup pen and did a
Yeah.
proper job with the filters and everything. It looked really good. So, and another guy, he had to have his makeup done. He had to have his one eye completely sealed, so it
Oh,
looked like he had no eye.
yeah.
So what they did was she patched it up with cotton wool, then
Mm-hmm.
went over it with latex, and then made the latex look all scabby looking. So he
Yeah.
only had one eye, and the other one, his other eye was normal, his other eye was just gone, and there was just a patch where it like skin straight over. It
Yeah.
looked genuine as well. Yeah, that
That's
was really good.
amazing. I'm
And the
sure
one,
that felt weird.
it felt incredibly weird. I mean, he was such a nice guy as well, and he was one of the producers of the film, so he got to act in the film that he produced. So that was good. Yeah, and I still talk to these guys. You know, we're hence why I've written another script, and it's based on my sister's land. She's got 18 acres of land in Cornwall, and she's kindly given me permission to use the land for us to shoot the film. Whether it's going to go ahead or not, I don't know. But I've just got a few little alterations to do on the script, and then once I've done that, I'll forward it back to the producers, and I think they'll be interested in it. That they initially liked it. You know, that they immediately got back to me when I first sent the script, because you know when we had the COVID, the lockdown, I couldn't focus on anything. Nobody could, I suppose. So to get focus, because I've been in this film, The Night Explorers, I thought, well, I've got an idea for a film. So I just sat down. I think it was for about 10 or 12 days solid, and I
Yeah.
finished an entire script in one go, in one sitting,
Wow.
because I can picture my sister's land. I can picture everything where the scenes are going to and from. You know, there's a big driveway where they have to go down in a truck, and I can see all of that. I can see all the trees going past and everything. And then there was another scene where there was a big fight in a campsite where they got a big open piece of land at the bottom of the garden. The bottom of the garden's 18 acres. You know, it's just insane how big it is.
Oh, wow.
So they've, yeah, it's huge. So like we've just got like this truck parked up. So I need to find a truck from somewhere. So we need to source all of that. But I've got all the costumes. I've got the complete script done. My sister's got 14 bedrooms. So location sorted, accommodation sorted,
Wow.
costume sorted.
Wow.
Script is done. Like
Yeah.
I said, there's just a couple of little bits to be done. So that I'm kind of self-motivating myself to finish that little bit now as well. But it's a decent company as well. They're willing to put money in and invest because they can see a feature film from this. And I've left it wide open as well for a part 2.
I can't wait to see it. Can't wait for you to finish so we can view.
Oh yeah, I mean I won't give away the story because it's unique. It's something that people see a lot of, but on a different line. So it's very sideways to what people think it already is. I can't give anything away because people will just start to go, oh, it's that.
It's special.
So I'm not doing any of that.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely keeping it to myself.
Yeah, so you're a martial artist. That's why you're a wonderful stuntman. Yes. And I've got a surprise for the audience. At the end of this interview, we have lovely videos of John doing some stunts. So keep watching till the end. So you're an actor, you're a stuntman, you're a martial artist, you're also a script writer. And I believe you teach martial arts 3 times a week. Tell us about,
Yes, I do.
That you've learned as a martial artist, moving in that space, moving in the acting space, working on these phenomenal scenes with these people who will inevitably become your friends because you're a very open-hearted person. Tell us, what are the lessons that really come out when you work with people?
First thing is be honest. Not just with other people, but with yourself. Admit to yourself what you can and cannot do. I mean, there are boundaries to be pushed. You want to try different things, but if you're physically incapable of doing certain stuff, don't do it. You are going to get injured. Do it on a step-by-step basis to get to it, but don't just go full on something you don't know. That's dangerous. Take your time, learn from professionals. I work with a company called Flashing Blades. They're based in Cardiff. They've been involved with the BBC, with I think it's Channel 4, and they worked on a couple of Doctor Who episodes. There was a series called Merlin. The main stunt choreographer and action choreographer, Rick Manning, he was involved in that, and he was actually a character in it as well. He was also a character in Doctor Who as well. So he's quite an established person. He's worked with a lot of like decent actors, and people know his name. And recently he got the team involved in a project for ITV that I cannot discuss because I'm actually under signed disclosure thing where I can't talk about what it is. But that was fun. We worked for a whole day for ITV, and they were fantastic, very professional. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they want, and they just do it. They don't mess about. They shut down a whole road for us to use this whole road in the middle of this busy town, and the police and everybody was fine, and it was great. Hundreds and hundreds of extras walking up and down the street. I think there was like 12 to 15 precision drivers, and the main characters were stunt double by people that looked exactly like them. There was not. They didn't sort of look like them. They looked exactly like them. You thought it was that person.
Incredible.
I couldn't tell who was who doing. I couldn't tell who was who doing this stunt riding on this bike thing, and it was fantastic. I had to like, which one are you? It was quite good though. Because you get to understand like the people who are doing the stunts. They have to act and look and perform exactly how the actors do. That's how it works. I mean, the guy from who does Harrison Ford stunts, he looks like Harrison Ford, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
So from like Indiana Jones, he looks exactly like him. There's and Chris Hemsworth gets Bobby Dazzler to do his stunts. He's physically almost the same as Chris Hemsworth. There's like hardly any noticeable difference. When you see them doing the stunt stuff, you think you can't tell. That's how good it is. You can see why they're called in to do, their stunts, because they're so good. They're very professional. They're precise on what they do. The movements, the structure of the people who have been called into the stunts are exactly who they're supposed to be. And it works really well.
Amazing.
So you can appreciate it. Yeah.
Didn't you mention that you also did precision driving?
That was the one for ITV.
Okay.
That was the one I can't
fantastic.
discuss. So I had to drive a vehicle from I think it was either the late 80s or the early 90s. It was a really old vehicle. And again, I would love to share the pictures and everything, but I'm not allowed to
No,
because it
that's
hasn't
fine.
been finished yet. So once the production's finished, then I can start releasing photos and saying I was involved in. But until then, I can't say what it is. I can't say anything about it. So it's pretty good. You know, it's a nice thing to be involved in.
Yeah, and
So
you're multi-talented. And that's why I like the advice that you gave people, because, you know, we all start somewhere. Let's look at
yes,
martial arts. When we start martial arts, we can do the basics. You mentioned getting the
yes,
kicks and the basic moves, you know, sorted out in the
of course,
first
yeah,
3 months. But it took 5 years to get to that first dan. And there's a reason for that process. I always tell people, trust yourself and trust the process, because nothing that you want to do that's lasting, that's worth it, comes, you know, in succession of each other. You have to cultivate that mindset. You have to work on your body. You have to work on various factors, your know-how, get to know the terminology. And that's what I love about, you know, your journey. As we're talking about your journey, you started with it, you've been cultivating it, and you've been building out. So not only are you doing the martial arts, you're also teaching. You're also a fitness instructor. You can do precision driving. You can do the stunts. You're an actor. You do the script. And all of those things overlap. And they
yeah,
all come back to you. And I think that's the lesson that I get, you know, when we connect, is there's no rush. Learn the things that you need to
of
learn.
course,
Get them under the knee and then do them well. Because I think in our
yeah,
rushed society, you know, John, people they just wanna go, 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 go. And sometimes it takes away from the quality of what they do. Now, I listened
yeah.
to I mean, you've been with Stuntman Corporation, I believe it's Flashing Blades. You're working with, you
That's the
know,
one.
they've worked with BBC. The films that you've been in are high quality, but it took a while to get there. So don't give up
Yeah, of
hope.
course.
If you're out there and you want to start doing the acting, or you want to start doing the martial arts, or you want to start writing scripts, start somewhere. Trust yourself that you can learn new abilities and trust the process.
Yeah, of course. Um, I started, like I said, I started martial arts in 1986. It was 3 months before I got to my first belt. And then what they do is initially what they told us was your first belt is 3 months. Then your next belt after that will be 6 months.
Yes.
Then the next belt after that will be 9 months.
Yeah.
And then so on. Until you get to your brown belt, then it's 2 years. Then it was a year or a year and a half before I could take my black belt. And then when you take your second dan, it's 2 years after you've taken your first dan. You can't you can't take it before then.
That's it.
I mean, so you can imagine how long it took me to get to my fourth.
Yeah.
So and doing my fourth dan, yeah, that was hard work, and it was properly earned, you know, and it wasn't just kickboxing. It was MMA, so there was a lot of jiu-jitsu, there was a lot of wrestling involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a mess at the end of that grading, and I was like drained beyond belief. It was like I'd had a pro fight. That's how tired I was.
Yeah.
You know, but it was worth every minute of it. You know, I enjoyed the whole process of going past my limits that I thought I could reach, getting to that limit, and then saying, right, can you go further? Let's see what we can do past that level of fitness, or level of mental awareness and fitness at the same time. That was hard. That was very, very hard. You know,
it's supposed to be that way.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. I mean, I do know a lot of people who've done their higher level grades, you know, their Dan grades, and they all have the same thing. They all say it was so hard, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
So
authentic. That's the
all,
way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be something that stretches us. And you know, in our style as well, Sharon Rusharan Khan and Mushin Khan, when you get to your black belt, you wait for a year, then you do your first dan, then you wait for 2 years, then you do your second dan, and you have to be invited to do it. They have to see that you are
Yeah.
able to reach that level. And I think that's wonderful
Yeah.
because it keeps that spirit of martial arts pure. It keeps that culture of martial arts alive. We have to work for those stunts. We have to work for those belts because
Yes.
that's something inside of us as well.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got no motivation to want to do it, they're not going to invite you. They're going to say, well, you're clearly not motivated enough. So, but if you turn up week in, week out, showing that you're willing, showing that you're, you know, you're willing to overcome your own abilities to be better than you are, then they'll say, okay, you're ready. It's like, I believe with the new jiu-jitsu gradings, they don't actually grade you. Your grades are like honored to you after, you know, so many years of perseverance and training, and then you've earned it because the coaches recognize that you've earned that belt. Like, I mean, a friend of mine who trains jiu-jitsu, he had no idea he was being given his blue belt, and then all of a sudden the guy who runs the clubs called him in. We need to have a chat with you in the dojo. There's a few guys want to have a talk to you as well. And he was thinking, okay, what's going on? What have I done wrong?
Oops.
And then next thing you know, they pull that this blue belt and they say, you've earned this. And like, and he's just, you know, collapsed crying because he didn't realize what he was, you know, and it's broke him down, but he's really appreciated it, you know, because he's such a nice guy as well. His name's Mick. He's a friend of mine, trains on a regular basis. I always talk to him all the time.
Are there any people that you want to give a shout out
I'll
to?
let him know he said hello. Yeah, but he's oh yeah, Rick Manning from Flashing Blades, very very nice guy. He works a lot on the stunt scene, fight choreography, action choreography. I've done basic firearms training with him, basic swords and shields and spear training, basic hand-to-hand combat training. It's different doing it for the screen. You have to unlearn what you've learned. You think, well, oh, you have to throw a punch, but you can't actually connect. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stunt companies that will allow like certain body shots and stuff like that, but people are wearing armor underneath their clothing, so they can be hit, and you can hide it all. You know, and then it's the expression of the person being hit. It's that person that sells the shot. So if you hit me, if you was to punch me in the face and I just go, and it doesn't do anything, that's not sold the shot. So you hit me and I go, whoa, and then you can see the difference. You know, you slightly exaggerate the movement, not to the point where it's silly, you know, but you make it sell. You make it's the person being hit. They're the one in charge, not the one throwing the hit.
Fantastic.
So that's the way that, you know, a lot of people work it anyway. So.
Love that.
There's a lot of terminology we do in stunts. Yeah. A lot of terminology we do in the stunts as well. You know, punching the parrot. Like if you want to hide the shot, if you want to punch from this side, you got the parrot there, so you punch the parrot. So you hide the shot.
Punch the parrot.
Yeah, because you like, I'll be standing here and they'll be punching the parrot, and I look like I'm being hit. But if you look from this angle, it's there. You can't see it. It's really funny, you know. And people tell you stuff. There's a couple of throws or a couple of falls. There's one called the Rob Roy, which is based on the film Rob Roy with Liam Neeson. Yeah. Well, Tim Roth, he was asked to be. He was told that he was going to die in a certain scene, and he'd never done any stunts before. So they developed this one drop and a death scene just for him. And then from then on, that death was called the Rob Roy.
The Rob Roy.
So people know how to do that death now. So yeah, so basically you drop your knees and flop. But it's the way you do it as well. So there's a specific manner. Because, you know, at the end of the film, when he gets cleaved by Liam Neeson's sword, if you've seen the film. Have you seen the film Rob Roy?
No, I haven't seen it, but I'm going to watch it.
Watch it now, just for that very final fight scene, and then you'll totally understand what I'm talking about. Like, but he's missing his footwork and everything, then, and he drops, and he stumbles about, and then he goes dunk to his knees and flops to one side. That death is called a Rob Roy. So
interesting.
Yeah. And then there's and there are other like silly named ones called the Saturday Night Fever, where you go like that and you just drop and you flop to your back, you know. But and then there's a Thriller when you do that and you fall over and you throw yourself back. There's like really weird names. But like that people that just come out with this stuff, whether they intend it to be hilarious, But
Yeah.
when you hear the name of the stunt, you go, what? It's called a what? But you never forget it. You never forget the name of the stunt. It's so much fun. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I've been training stunts with Rick Manning for about between, I think it's either that between 5 and 7 years, something like that.
It's a
I
long
got
time.
loads of certificates training with him.
Yeah.
And he's a genuine guy as well. He will forward you on to other companies and he will say, use this guy because he's good at such and such a thing.
Wow.
Like he forwarded my details to Yasmin Alice, who produced a film called The Truckman. And I literally spent 2 days preparing stunts and action sequences and fight scenes for this. Not actually stunts, but like action sequences, because there weren't no real stunts involved. It was just like people needed to die, so I had to show them how to die, and I had to teach these people how to die correctly and make it look real. How to hide certain shots, like if people have been stabbed, if you got too much of a gap, you have to like hide the camera angle so people can't see that they're being stabbed, but you still get the intention of the body movements, so you can see. Or like if I got my knife here and then they're missing here, but if I got my knife here and you do that, you're still seeing it's coming in. So you can understand that. So you're hiding, it's depth perception on a camera is different to depth perception on a person. So we can see, but the camera can't. It's really clever how it works. So I had to show I had to show these 2 people how to be killed. The one got battered with a club and the other one got stabbed. So that, I know it sounds all brutal and everything, but nobody got injured. All the knives were fake. It was like cardboard axes. It looked genuine, but it was made like with this really hollow piece of stick that weighed less than my finger, and the blade was made out of cardboard that I sprayed silver, put a bit of black tint on it, and then when they stabbed the guy with it, they sprayed some red blood on it and whatever, trickled some blood. That looked really cool. That was interesting.
Wow.
And they just add the sound effects post, so they do that afterwards. So that's quite good. And again, I got to meet some interesting people who still now want to work with me on other projects, because you're honest with them. You talk straight. You go like, yes, you can do this, or no, you can't do that. Because if you say, okay, let's try it, but for a fact it isn't going to work, then you're making a fool of yourself. So you just go, no, I'm not doing that because this is what's going to happen. And then you explain, and then they go, okay, so that's not going to work. But then if they say, okay, but what about this? And you go, oh, actually, that's a valid point. I will try that, and if it does work, then we'll take it from there. But the directors, they are willing to push the boundaries. You have to be aware of that.
Yeah, open-minded.
You have to be straight with the director as well. You have to say, look, I can do this, but this is going to happen. Somebody is going to get injured. Are you willing to let that happen? And then they usually go, no.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Move on. Next idea.
And a lot of it is down to correct equipment like body armor, forearm guards, knee guards. A lot of people get injured knees, especially dropping to the floor, even hitting dirt. If you do it repeatedly, it's going to injure your knees. It's worse hitting concrete. I remember I filmed. There was a short student film called Apportation. I had no stunt equipment. It was my very first time doing any action sequences at all. And the director said, I want you to drop to your knees and then just fall forward. I was like, oh, okay, that's not too bad. So I dropped to my knees, knowing the floor was concrete, thinking, okay, that's going to hurt. So I slowed it down. He went, no, it doesn't sell. I need you to drop to your knees. And I was like, but that's going to really hurt my knees. So we had to like improvise, and we had to find loads of cardboard, put a couple of pieces of cardboard down for me to drop to that. And then we filmed me dropping to my knees, like actually dropping to my knees. And then he made that fit. So he sped that up a little bit just so it looked real.
Wow.
But like the real drop, I landed on cardboard because I'm not smashing my knees up for anybody.
Oh no.
I need those to walk with.
You need those to do that on Roy with.
You need those to do everything with. I mean, if you watch a lot of the scenes as well, a lot of the stunt scenes, if you watch how they've cut it, you can see that they've cut the big drop, and then afterwards it'll come back to the main where they hit. That's afterwards. So they'll do the big stunt, and there's loads of mats, but you don't see all of those. And then
Yeah.
it zooms in for the close up, and then it's just and they drop from there.
Just a little.
You got your 10-foot. You got your 10-foot drop. So
Yeah.
like, and there's loads of mats, cardboard or whatever, and they've hit that, and then they film in for the actual impact on the floor, and it's like maximum from about there, a foot maybe. So they've hardly dropped at all, and then they edit that in, so it looks real. It's how you get away with it.
Amazing. We
So
are
people
learning so much.
Yeah, people doing these big drops, and you see them really hitting the floor. I'm like, ooh, that's gonna hurt. But if you watch a lot of the old westerns, especially the John Wayne films, the Backjack production, if you saw the stuntmen then, they were insane. They were a whole new level that people they're too scared to do today.
Yeah.
They will fall off a building and hit the dirt. But if you watch when they hit the dirt, a lot of the dirt flies up. It's because they put loads of like padding under the floor, straw, and then they cover the straw with dirt. So when they hit, it goes, all the dirt comes up, and it makes it more effective. Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's
Every time we still got
learning how they've done it.
Yeah, because they didn't have the equipment that we have today, that the movies
not back
have
then,
today.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And doing wire work as well. That's fun.
Wire work.
I recommend to everybody who's fit and healthy to do at least try wire work for stunt filming. It's amazing. You have so much fun. You have to have some agility in your abilities, because you saw me doing the somersaults in that one scene, and then you saw me doing the spiral out, and then you saw me being dragged back and everything. The shotgun one when I get blown backwards, that's called a jerk back. Because you basically just get jerked back off your feet. So,
but you have to know what to do with your body, right? You have to know what to.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. It's you as a stunt person. Once you're being hit, you have to sell it. If you don't sell it, that's a waste of film. And cameramen and producers and directors don't want to waste. They just want to do it. They've got a vision in their mind, and they want to see you do that stunt, and they want to see you being thrown. They want to see your ability to take the hit. And you got to improv a lot of stuff as well. You got to like give it they call it grabbing the fresh air. Like if you're dropping, and like if people will panic and try and grab things, and you have to do that. I don't know if I've sent that one. There's another one. I jumped off a 10-foot ladder, and I basically just jumped back. And as I'm landing, I'm trying to grab because you panic. That's what people do.
Yeah.
You got to.
You want to grab onto something. Instinct.
Yeah. It's scary. Some of the stunts are scary when you first do your 10-foot drop. You're very aware of how high it is because you're 10 foot in the air. If you stand on your ceiling and jump off that, you have to imagine that's really going to hurt if you hit a solid floor. But obviously the mats, you have the mats on a basis where you have the hard mats on the floor. They're the very first ones that go on the floor. Then progressively, as you go to the higher mats, it gets softer and softer and softer and softer till it's like hitting an air pocket. So when you hit that first mat, it's like you hit soft air. It's so nice, and you don't get injured at all. So clearly, you don't have the mats the other way around because that's when you would get injured.
Yes,
because you hit the hard mat.
That wouldn't
you put the hard one first. Yeah, you have the hard one first, then you have progressively softer and softer and softer until you got the top level. So.
Wow, we learned so much from you, John. Every time I speak to you, I learn new things. Today I learned about what you do on the set and all the moves, what their names are. I'm gonna watch those movies as well. I'm gonna go look for them, and I want to ask
the Night Explorers.
The Night
Explorers isn't finished yet. They're still producing that one. They're still editing it. That's how big the film is. It's quite a lot. So there's another one as well called Shadow of Automation, working with a guy called Scott Clift. And he's a pro MMA fighter as well. And he's really good. He's very talented. But he's now gone just to movie production. He's also in the nightclub business as well. You got to get your money somehow. But he's producing films and he's getting backers to help produce his films. And we did this like retro sci-fi action thriller called The Shadow of Automation, where people have got implants to carry information in the brain. And I know it's been done before, but it was the way it was done. You know, enhancements to make them better people or faster fighters or whatever.
Yeah.
Initially, I was called in again just to die. One day shoot. You're just going to die today. We'll just get you killed off, and then you can go back home. But once I got talking to Scott, and he realised I had almost the same background history with the combat, he started talking to me, and he saw how I could do the kicks. I mean, I had to do this one fight scene with Harry. He was who played the main character, and Harry was 5'10", and I'm 5'5", and the director said, "Scott, can you kick him in the head?" So I just lifted my leg up and kicked him, and he went, "Okay, you can do that, right? We've got to do this scene." So I kicked him in the head. Then he said, "Can you do a question mark kick? You know, the one that comes down."
Yeah.
So I've done that. So I did about 10 of those. My left leg was drained at the end of that.
Yeah.
You know, especially wearing a suit in a cold environment, on wearing shoes on a slippy floor, very aware that you might fall over.
Yeah.
You know.
Ouch.
So we had to do that, and then I did the kick. He's grabbed me. He's dragged me onto the floor. Luckily, I brought my own mats and I got my own body armor on. He's dragged me onto the floor, like basically dropped me straight down. He's got a shotgun and then blew my head off. I don't know if I sent you the pictures to that, where you see the pictures where my top of my head's blown off.
I don't know.
I'll send you those.
I would have remembered that one.
Yeah.
And the ladder
because
video.
Because he liked how I did that. He also said, right, we've now done like a pre-fight scene to that with the other character. So you've got another fight scene, and you've also got dialogue. So not only did I go from just having one day shoot to a death scene and done, I had a whole week of filming.
Wow.
And the backstory of the character he then told me was, you basically spent your life, the only time enjoying yourself was when you hurt people. So I was like, okay, that's not me in real life, but yeah, okay, I can play that. And he said, you got it. I said, how do you want me to walk on set? I said to the director at Scott, I said, so how do you want me to appear on set? He said, I want you to come on set like you don't care about anybody or anything. You don't care about nothing that's in front of you. You just want to walk through people and get on with it. And like everyone else is doing all this sniper business with the guns, and I just walked on with this shotgun, and I'm just walked through, and it's like, and even some of the other characters on the set said, "You're the only one that stood out in those particular scenes because of doing that." So hopefully, you know, that's going to like get some notice when it's finally finished. And he's almost finished that.
Yeah.
You know, he sent it off. He sent it off to all the you know, you got to send these short films off to movie festivals to get noticed before they produce it as a main feature.
Yeah.
So he sent them all off. So you know, we'll just wait and see what happens. But I'm looking forward to watching that. So
great job. Well, I'm going to be rooting for you, and so is the audience, that all those short films get recognized, and you're a hard worker. I know that. And I feel honored to be able to call you my brother and my friend. And thank you for sharing your experience with the audience, for teaching us so much, and, you know, just for being you, because it's so lovely to spend time with you. It's always such a lovely atmosphere and energy. We appreciate you, John. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it as well. You know, it's such an honor for somebody to pay interest into what you do, because that's what we want in the end. You know, we want somebody to say, we appreciate you. We want somebody to say, we're glad that you've done this, because then I feel like it's been totally worth it. I don't care about the money. I've never been interested in money whatsoever. I just want to be happy doing what I'm doing and make other people happy at the same time.
Beautiful. And that you definitely do. I know the audience enjoyed this interview so much. I definitely did. I want to ask you before we end, do you have any words of wisdom for the audience? What's in your heart that you want to leave them with today?
A lot of people say, how did you get into filming? How did you get into whatever it is that you're doing, music, martial arts? I mean, we haven't even covered my music. I mean, I've had almost 30 tracks signed. You know, I was on a #1 featured album. I did a remix for the UK #1 track, Read My Lips. That got signed as well. And I'm signed to one American record label, 2 Canadian record labels, 1 French, 1 Viennese, and a couple of UK labels as well. So
fantastic. Oh my goodness.
The key is, if you want to do it, you have to take that step. You can't just expect it to happen. You have to, not annoyingly bother people, but you have to let people know that you want to do it. So if you want to, like, say if you're a remix or a producer, you just politely say, I'm available for remixes or music production if you're interested. Don't constantly throw yourself at them, because they will literally go, you're too much, we don't need it. So you just politely give them the nudge and then leave it. Then maybe in a couple of months' time, have you add anything back for whatever, any remix productions? And sometimes they go, well, okay, we'll test the waters, we'll see what you can do. That's your chance. But if you do it, don't rush it. Do it right, or don't do it at all.
That's it.
Same as martial arts. If you're doing your martial arts, don't rush it. Get it right. Same as your acting. Same as your stunt works. Do it, but do it right. Don't rush into things thinking you know what you're doing. Make sure you do know what you're doing before you're doing it, because that's when things go wrong. Got to be careful.
That's it. That's wonderful words of wisdom. Thank you for the amazing advice. It was such an honor to spend this time with you. Thank you so much, my friend. You're awesome. And we keep rooting for you, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Thank you. Definitely. I'm looking forward to all the people showing their videos and their interviews as well.
Yay. Thank you so much, John. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Action, team up. 3, 2, 1. Play back. Action. 1, 2, 1. Perfect. Whoa.